Chen, you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone back to the Small World Podcast. Great to have you here again. My guest today is Chan, who I actually met recently, maybe 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But really fucking with the guy, super bubbly personality, lives in San Francisco right now, super cracked background. He's had 4 internships, including in places like Tesla and Lucid. He might be an incoming McKinsey. I'm going to say
Mhm.
hopefully not, only because when MarkIt goes to 100 billion valuation, we won't need McKinsey and we might be hiring them in the future. We'll see.
Yeah.
But overall, Chan is the founder of MarkIt, which is a company that recently got into Y Combinator. So I'm really excited to just get to know about your journey about building MarkIt, where you're going to see it in the future, and what you've experienced so far. So Chan, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, man. Yeah, like I said, undergrad at Georgia Tech, studied CS Econ. And I'll tell you guys a little brief about how I started an AI trade compliance company. Um, like you said, I worked at a bunch of internships, Tesla, Lucid, but before that, I was at Porsche, Michelin, and I spent, you know, a lot of that time stressing. I was like, oh man, I do not want to work at a fucking car company. What are the ways out, right? And I landed on I can become really, really good at this, craft a story, and go into consulting, which fortunately did work out. But during my time at Tesla, this was the new administration, tariffs were flying. And, originally I went there because I wanted a nice little name on my resume, right, for to say Tesla. But then found a real problem, really didn't like doing the work. And I was like, okay, this work is something that can all be improved with a software lift. And people thought the same thing. Like Deloitte came in, KPMG came in, a bunch of startups came in. Tesla shot every single one of them down for various amount of reasons. And I was like, okay, these are reasons that I can address. These people are obviously open to technology, it just needs to be the right kind. Left, grabbed my co-founder, who I've known since eighth or ninth grade of high school, fantastic engineer, Plaid, Roblox, Google, etc. Then we have been working on we were ideating for like maybe 2 months. We've been full time on it for like another 2 months now. And yeah, it's a great time for the conversation. We're halfway through the Y Combinator batch, made lots of progress, but very excited to be here.
Yeah, and life comes at you fast. Isn't it crazy that 5 months ago, market didn't really even exist, right?
Yeah, man, I had no idea. 5 months ago, my largest problem was like, I wonder if if MBB consulting was going to hit me back. And that was really nerve wracking. But suddenly, now I'm here. I have to sell software for a living and like pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to the beginning. You said you have a co-founder. His name's Roland, I believe, right?
Yes.
So shout out Roland.
Shout out Roland, man.
He's the technical guy on the team. How did you end up choosing him as your co-founder? Because it seems like
Yeah.
you were the one who definitely had the idea.
Yeah. I know it's like a really bad answer to say like I've always wanted to start a company, but I guess we both have been pretty entrepreneurial. I've known him since ninth grade in high school. Knew he was cracked, but it's not like we were like valedictorian, salutatorian. Or we actually like had really low GPAs. We didn't even get into Georgia Tech initially. He went to RIT. I went to Georgia State, and we both had to
Hmm.
transfer in. And I think that 1 year we spent apart at like not fantastic schools kind of put a chip on our shoulder and we're like, wow, we really need to lock in or we're going to be cooked. That's why we came in the first year or two, put a lot of intensity into internship recruiting. Fortunately, that worked out because we put the work in. And then from there, it almost seemed natural. Like, what is the next step? Like, there's the whole conversation like, do I want to be an employee? Like, even when I was considering McKinsey and all of that, that was for the goal of leaving at the, that typical 2 to 3 year
Hmm.
framework, using it as a launch pad and doing a startup anyway. So if I have a good opportunity in trade compliance in Tesla, the tailwinds are blowing, the narratives all line up. It's going to be this guy that I grab, and it should be a good time. And he's like a fantastic engineer, right? Like the titles help, like Plaid, Roblox, Google, help when talking to investors. That's 21-year-olds, but it's not just like he's like a vibe coding dude who can ship fast. He actually understands like the regulations, the codes, which is something that is really required when working in an industry like this.
And I just want to give huge props to you guys, being transfers. I transferred myself. So I went to community college for
Yeah.
2 years and then I transferred over to Berkeley. The fact that you guys just like, my grades were also terrible in high school, like really locked in and just
Mhm.
like hit the ground running. And like, I know how much of like a learning curve it is to go from like kind of pre-transfer process to just moving all the way up, getting the internships you guys have. And like you said, like honestly, like they're just names. Obviously, you don't want to like work forever, but at the same time, the fact that you were able to really do that, like just shows how awesome you guys are at just locking the fuck in. So
Yeah, I mean, transferring is like it's ridiculous. I don't rep Georgia Tech that much, but I do rep the fact that I am a transfer student. I think it's like a very, I'm sure you might agree, but it's a very unique process and it crafts like a certain type of individual, like, or, for better or for worse, right? But it's a very, it's a cool thing to share with people, I would say.
yeah, no, I'm proud of it. I rep it as well. I want to move forward to like, okay, so you get the idea for market.
Yes.
You spend 2 months with the idea, just kind of crafting it, right? What
Right.
did those 2 months look like? Are you talking to people? Are you trying to figure out what exactly they need? Like, you're at Tesla, so I assume you're talking to like a bunch of your co-founders, or not co-founders, co-workers there.
Yeah. So I knew that a startup was already possible in this area because during my time at Tesla, we had like, XEY partners who left to do a startup, a YC company came in. So like, so that tells me one, Tesla is already receptive of, hearing these out in case they're the perfect fit. Most of the time they won't be, right? But two, that people are already trying to tackling it and kind of coming short. So, excuse me. Kind of get to the question like, is this something that I would be able to pursue? And if I was able to pursue it, could I do it differently than this EY partner or this other Y Combinator company already doing it? Right. I came to the conclusion, yes. First, and it wasn't, one, I got to hear all the reasons that Tesla shut them down. So
Yeah.
instead of meetings with my manager and my, director directly, like I was getting pulled into these meetings with like KPMG and the YC company and I got to see what it looks like. And I have my own thoughts. I got to hear my manager's thoughts, and it's a lot of extracted information that you don't really expect going into like a corporate job, right? I was still doing a lot of Excel, but I got to be in these cool conversations as well that gave a lot of kind of insider information on the criteria and the expectations and what they actually care about. Now, don't tell my competitors, but a lot of the stuff that they're focusing on, right? Let's say classification, which is when you assign a 10 digit code to a good and all of those companies don't really care about that. Like they already know a decent amount about what the codes for their own company goods are, but like that's a lot of misplaced effort from what I've seen and one area that we try to differentiate in.
So one of the things you said that's pretty interesting is like if it's the perfect fit for Tesla, right?
Mhm.
So I assume every company kind of has their own little way of doing a bunch of different things. So how is Market going to be able to slide into all of these different companies and like kind of mesh well with the system they already have?
Yeah. So the answer to that is the answer a lot of other tech pros have come down to, and is it's AI agents, which is
Yeah,
like I don't actually proudly rep it. Like again, it sounds like very AI sloppy.
yeah.
A lot of people should be skeptic, kind of. Right, I guess it's like whatever. But I think the way we thought is like okay. So to go through this workflow, it's just a mix of like parsing documents, extracting it. Sometimes it goes into an Excel, sometimes it goes into a Word, and then you have to apply some type of trade logic, whether that's creating a report, classifying it, moving around goods, writing a free trade agreement, like auditing it, and then formatting that to send it somewhere, right? So what our product offers right now, like as we speak, is the ability to do everything individually. Like we have a tab for document parsing scanning, right? We have a tab for report generation and classification logic. What we are trying to do in the next 2 months is to like we have made all of these parts. We want the user to be able to build a custom workflow because like you said, it's slightly different everywhere. So, you drag a block like I will upload a file here, then I want it to run this specific type of audit on it. And then after that, I would like to parse it into a PDF. So we keep it very open ended. And I think that's how we've been able to fit into a lot of existing workflows pretty well instead of having to push this like big AI software on them. And it's like, it can do everything. You're just going to have to figure it out. Like, it doesn't sound like a very good approach to selling to very, very non technical people.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I didn't think of the fact that most people probably are not as technical as.
Wildly not technical, but I have a lot of love for them. But because they're going through a lot right now, right? Because of all the tariff changes. But like, man, fewer are worse with computers than trade compliance professionals.
Interesting. Okay, so the fact that you can make it a lot easier as well and just tell them like, find me this instead of making them go through the Excel itself. Okay, so there's even more value prop. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
and it looks like we kind of hit on like what you're going to be doing in the short term, like making it customizable. Let's talk about more in the long term though.
Yeah,
Uh,
let's
where
do
do
it.
you see market in like 10 years? How are you guys going to conquer the world?
Trade compliance right now, what we're doing is assisting in the navigation of goods crossing borders, right?
Hmm.
Um, what that is direct, what's even more upstream of that is the existence of goods in the market. Like, is this compliant with what should be in the world? And that is an industry called TIC, which is testing, inspection, and certification. In the US, you might recognize the name UL Solutions. I had no idea that's what they do, but that's what they do, right? And that's connected to like HTS codes, applying certifications. This can exist for a year and then having to renew them. And basically everybody who makes anything and sells anything is a client to them. We've fortunately been able to come to this. We have a client that we work with in Saudi Arabia called TUV Ryzen. They are the UL solutions of the Middle East, the
Mm.
Middle East North Africa region. They sit upstream of trade compliance, and that is the industry that we want to conquer. Trade compliance is great. Starting with what we have on MarkIt, we can expand it into two directions. We can go more horizontal, and we can do like these like freight forwarding, procurement, or like other various logistics things that no one really knows what they're doing. It's just more forms of documents, right? Or we can move vertically. We can try to go into this TIC industry, which has an enormous market, has no technology existing at all, and we'll have this background of like remaining compliant and knowing how to work with regulations, and that is what we have our eyes set on. I know you said 10 years, but it's something we're starting now, just knowing what they're up to. So when we do kind of start creating things for them instead of like customs brokers or importers, we can hit the nail on the head immediately.
Awesome. No, I love the vision. I can absolutely see now why YC got a bono when they heard your guys' application.
Oh, this TIC thing is like we haven't even they didn't hear about this. We found out
Mm.
about this like 2 weeks ago. Another startup accelerator. Are you familiar with Antler?
No, are they in the program right now?
They they're like an international like YC competitor, and they recently came to the US, right? And then one of their co-founders in Saudi Arabia reached out and said, "Hey, we're working with these guys. I don't have tech. Do you guys have tech?" And then that kind of became a partnership. So we're trying to slither our way into some oil money.
Amazing how the opportunities just come like just oh, one day. Now all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, here
Yeah.
you are like completely not pivoting, but you kind of know like
Mhm.
setting your future in a different way. You said you have clients, so I assume that means revenue, which is funny that that's not always a like certain at this point.
Definitely.
How are you guys like pulling in clients? How are you bringing business?
Yeah, all of it has been outbound on our end. Leveraging the network that previously existed. I'm from Atlanta, which is a pretty large hub.
Mm,
So kind of knew like I worked at Porsche that's in Atlanta, right?
mm.
So a lot of suppliers, a lot of brokers there. We got our initial users from looking up on Yelp, top customs brokers, and reaching out, right? Um, Funnily enough, like them being top in performance also means they're probably likely to adopt technology to keep up that performance. But yeah, that we've been outbound. We have like a wait list for inbound, but right now we are still start bringing up everything we want to go to market with something we're very proud of, which I know like people say, oh, speed is the only moat, which is like fucking nonsense. But
This is the dumbest shit I ever heard. I'm so sorry.
yeah, like speed is the only moat, distribution is the only moat. It's like we can talk about like AI code in a bit. Something I feel very passionate about, something Roland feels even more passionate about. But yeah,
Mm.
we have some inbound. We are piloting at the ones that are have been made very clear that what we are doing right now is not 100% exhaustive or accurate. We also are we don't have a customs broker's license as our company. So
Mm.
we are treading this line of like, if are we doing customs business or are we selling software that happens to help you with some things that are customs related? Yeah, we're being pretty careful to fully unleashing it onto the market as of now.
Makes sense. And you guys are so young that obviously all in good time, as
Yeah,
fast as everything is moving. But I wanted to talk about where you are right now, though, with Y
yeah,
Combinator. How
yeah.
was
Let's
it
do it.
getting in? Like, I'm sure that shit was super fucking exciting. And has it been everything you imagined it to be?
Yeah. I'll start with the application process. So we got in on our second interview, our second application as well.
Mm.
The first time we applied, we actually no, I applied 3 times, got 2 interviews. The first time got rejected, got like the oh, you were in the top 10%. And then our idea was pretty bad. So we got the top 10% emails like either they send this to everyone or it's not as hard as it seems. And that was for like some cybersecurity, like cheating, anti-cheating software, right? And this was in January. Reapply for the next batch with MarkIt. Very uncrafted idea. A lot of buzzwords thrown in there. Tariffs are happening, trade compliance, AI. And then Boom, we get an interview. I take it from my Lucid office. Roland takes it from his Roblox office. I lag out 3 times. Um, in this little fucking call booth in Lucid, right?
Mm.
My internet drops. And not all the questions are answered well. We get feedback later on. Sometime through that process, we actually interviewed for Andreessen Horowitz's speed run as well.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah, and that was really early. Yeah, that was really early, but we got a lot of good feedback from that. And that was like, okay, if these guys can write us 3 paragraphs about it, surely we can write maybe 2 pages that are better for the Y Combinator application. And then speed forward, Lucid ends. We have been building this out. We got an initial check. So YC wasn't our first funding. School starting again. I'm thinking like, okay, so Roland could, he's interning at Google. He just finished Roblox. I got my McKinsey offer. It's like, okay, so what needs to happen for this to be something I'm willing to stake my life on, right? Like
Yeah.
without me completely screwing up the EV of my life. And then we reapply to Y Combinator, get the interview, go in, and then we know what they're going to ask. They're going to say, we interviewed you guys a couple months ago. What have you been doing? And then we came in ready with the numbers, ready with the metrics, ready with a lot of tangible progress. And then we got the call. But yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't even with Roland, which I realized was, like, uncommon because like, our partner, Tom, he called us and said, like, "Are you and Roland together right now?" I was like, "Wow, I guess, like, if we interviewed, it would make a lot of sense that we're sitting here anticipating for it." But, like, I was at dinner with my roommates, and Roland was in New York interning, right? So, like, I was like, "No, I'll add him to the call," and it was a little awkward. But yeah.
that's so funny. You just made him wait. So I was just like, okay, okay, merging.
Yeah.
So funny.
That's tough.
I totally sympathize with the whole like lagging out thing. By the way, my first interview with like a top firm was Bain.
Yeah, dude, it's very impressive how bad timing can be, right? Like,
Every time, dude. Every time. Okay. I interviewed with Bain twice.
oh,
Both
nice.
times, bro. Both times. The second time was even worse. I literally left the like Zoom meeting like 5 times. I got disconnected, disconnected
Jesus.
with
Yeah,
the
it's just
partner too. Find the right.
it's not a great feeling. I interviewed for BCG for summer associate. Yeah, associate's the undergrad, right? And then a fire alarm went off during my case, and it's like, okay, well, I think I handled it pretty well, but fortunately, like probably would have handled it better without it. So yeah,
Yeah.
crazy shit happens. But
Well,
it's like I'm glad I didn't get BCG because if I got BCG, I probably wouldn't have taken Tesla, and there probably would have been no market, right? So like, I am a slight subscriber to the fact that things tend to work out. A slight subscriber.
I agree there. I actually 100% agree there. Things do usually work out, but it's really interesting to look back and be like, oh, if this little thing changed, all of a sudden
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Um, come for the founder talk, stay for the like philosophy and like fake talks on the
Yeah.
podcast. Um,
Exactly.
you wanted to talk about vibe coding. It seems like you're very passionate about not putting out AI slop.
Yes.
I'm sure your partner is as well. Where's that come from?
Him far more than I. Like I'm technical in the sense like I'll push anything that is like user facing. I have a very strong vision on, but he is the backbone of the logic, the software vision, etc. If you like go to our website, like it's not the most developed website. It's like we do not want to throw one out that looks like Vercel. Like it's just like we have a strong distaste for this shiny ass liquid glass button, the text. You know what I'm talking about, right? The scrolling pictures. It's like, dude, that's not who we are. It's not who we're selling to. Maybe if it were some type of dev tool, right? But I think it's just bad. Like I saw a LinkedIn post a couple weeks ago from another YC company saying they pushed what 77,000 lines of code in the past week, and it's like those guys have no idea what they pushed, and
Yeah,
they're also times of regulated industry like a financial bank. It's like okay, so you guys clearly like aren't serious or like have just not done the mental gymnastics to realize that's not the best thing to post when you're working in a heavily regulated industry.
yeah.
I think some things are probably fine to vibe code, like your personal website, or if you're like if it's like a video editor, right, like a Loom competitor, or like give us a video of your product and we'll AI-fy it and add music and stuff like that. Like sure, but I think there is a very tangible line on what good software is, and if you are not building for demo day and instead of building to win the market, it's like, do you think these people who are currently in the, are market leaders right now were vibe coding what initially made them blow up? Probably not. Are they vibe coding what they're doing right now? Like probably, but like Amazon isn't, their engineers kind of suck. Like,
Hey,
Roland.
bro, that's my company. I interned there last summer.
Sorry.
I
But
mean, yeah, I'm not gonna confirm what you just said, but I'm not gonna deny it either. Wink, wink. So,
yeah, I mean, like Roland goes to these tech companies and is like, he always comes out. He's like, he's very surprised at the quality of people who he's just
mhm,
like sneak in, and it sounds really
mhm.
toxic, but like, there's this whole thing. Like, he was at Plaid, he was at Roblox, they're very high paying jobs, and it's he meets people who don't know very fundamental. It's like, how did you get here? Um, so I think that makes like hiring really difficult as well. But he does a pretty good job sniffing it out. I think it built a lot of unsustainable code, built a lot of messy code, and if you're building for anything more than the scope of 8 months, is you should probably code it yourself. And I think people know that. I think people just can't really do that, which is fine. That's a separate conversation. It's on how education and things are built. Like Georgia Tech kind of operates as like a school that it's like a trade school. It just pumps out people who know how to do leak codes, and that's why you go to Amazon and you meet 40 people on Georgia Tech on your floor. So it's like, I guess it works if your goal is to get the job, but when you're doing a startup, it's very different from any type of interview process or building from zero is different from fixing some tickets.
That's a good point. They need to figure out like the whole interview process is really fucked up. It's just pretty much who can memorize the most leak code. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's the lengths that people are willing to go for it, which is, I guess, like that's kind of what was pushed about the CS, like graduate into a sexy six-figure job, right?
Mhm.
And like I know people who got into Amazon and Meta, and it's like another Asian dude just took the interview for him. So like, yeah, it's like shameless, right? That's
Uh,
why we have a really large reservation on like hiring people because but like, yeah, we don't like. Well, one, we're not hiring right now, but when we do, we plan to run really lean. Just certain companies we really like. If you're familiar with Gumroad, they
mhm.
are. Yeah, they're not like this huge company, but they're just basically like a bunch of like coding mercenaries that like exist. You can look it up, but like a very clean website, very known for very strong engineering. And there's a couple of companies that reflect that culture, and that's one we're trying to maintain. Like early Stripe is known for having really good engineering. I mean, they're kind of big now, probably got picked up some bloat, but like, they have the heart. But it's we're not working on the sexiest problem in the market. So we'll see what that overlap looks like between brilliant engineers and people who can uh like kind of contribute to the culture we're looking for.
There's an interesting thing that I heard about from a founder of his name's Moses Lowe. He pretty much made the like Venmo for like Indonesia.
Yeah.
So he's like Forbes 30 under 30, all this shit, and he was giving a talk at Haas, and one of the things he said that was really interesting was like, you know, like we're not the sexiest company. Where we were a startup in the beginning as well. How do we pick up a bunch of people who are like skilled, give a shit, and like make sure we don't bloat it, right? And
Yep.
make sure we can keep them accountable because it's really hard to do all that. And he brought up something interesting. He's like, what we would do is we would hire groups of friends.
That's that makes a lot of sense. That's who's working on our product now. It's Roland, and then it's shout out Nevin. That was my roommate before we got shipped out here. He's our founding engineer. And you hire a group of friends. There's an expectation out of them as well. It's like it's I'm foregoing McKinsey. He's foregoing Google. You're going to forego Palantir. It's like we're all going to sit here and make it worth our damn time, right?
Yeah.
Um, and also it also makes it really easy to sit down and talk to them. It's like, bro, you need to lock in. I need you working on this. But like friend groups vary as well. Like, no,
Mhm.
like I have some bums in my friend group, and then we have some high performers in the friend group, right? And that is something to navigate. But yes, I would completely agree. Most friend groups tend to attract people of
Mhm.
like-mindedness. Whether that's engineering or what shows you watch.
Yeah.
So having a connection past the code base that you're sharing is probably fantastic when working.
And it helps overcome the fact that like you guys are looking for the top talent, and at the same time, I can't pay as much as a Google or a Palantir, right?
Yeah,
So,
probably not. Hey, unless demo day works out. Unless demo day works out, and you hit my email, we will be writing the big numbers if you are good. So come talk with us.
if and when Demo Day works out, we're hopping
Yeah.
back on the pod and we're just popping champagne and we're
Yeah.
gonna like
Exactly.
just we're gonna be doing shots. It'll be in person. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Uh,
We'll host one of those. Oh, you guys, Berkeley has some fuck shit going on. Like you can see Ditto, like the dating guys, and like yacht parties for startups. It's like I'm not the biggest fan of startup culture, to be honest. But like you guys California is like really embracing it. It's very interesting to watch as an outsider for now. Hopefully I don't get consumed by it.
Honestly, you probably will to an extent. I don't know if anyone
I
can
hope.
overcome it, but you're talking to the guy who wore the like furry suit from Cluely, if you know what that is.
Oh, is that you?
No, 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 no. I just did it once.
Oh,
I like went over to their office. I'm not the guy who does that. God knows this.
yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. The Roy, he went to the same school district as Roland and I. He went to Peachtree Ridge. We're all from Gwinnett. Little suspicious guy. Hopefully he doesn't sue me. But yeah, that he's doing well. They just turned into one like a meeting note taker, which is like that's probably what you do when you're max extracting the position that you've been put in.
Yeah. No, at first I kind of hated the pivot, but then after that, I was like, honestly, they're pivoting.
Yeah, I don't think they had the engineering ability to build what they were advertising before. If you notice, like they were always like teetering on this line of like, parentheses, we're not actually invisible, like we're parentheses,
Mhm.
like we're missing certain things, like we're waiting to get regulated, etc. I'm not like too caught up with them, but I think from what I know, they could not build what they were advertising, but they can build a damn good note taker, I believe.
We'll find out. And if they don't, they'll come back, they'll do another company, and they'll be successful.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
got enough hype behind the guy now.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so it looks like we do have to wrap up because we're up
Oh
on
man.
our half hour. Went by fast, dude. It was fun, huh?
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Thanks
Yeah,
for having me.
of course, man. So I just want to close everything out by saying, Chan, thank you so much for hopping on the call. I want to wish you all the best at
Thank
Y
you.
Combinator and past as well. I'm really excited to see where MarkIt goes. I'm excited to talk to you again, hopefully soon, with some
Soon.
updates so
With some
everyone can get to
champagne.
champagne, bro. Let's do it. This is an idea for the future, and if the listeners want to chime in and tell me what they think, I'm gonna get like a founder on, and every time like we say a buzzword, we have to like take a shot, and the
Oh,
puns when like we just both black out.
that's a great idea. It's a great idea. Cool. Thanks so much for having me. Last couple words from me, if I may.
Of course.
I talked a lot of shit, but we can talk business for a second. We are working with Hyundai. We are working with Paige Jones. We're working with SK. We are working with Tesla. We're not all just attitude over here at MarkIt. There's a lot of good stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, that's it. That's it on my end.
Hell yeah.